Hey guys, and welcome back to the Interceptor. So today we're here with another war video, and D69 is going to be taking on Super Andromeda Skrulls, or SAS, and these guys are a very, very tough alliance to face. They have cleared several times with 5 or less deaths, and we know that this is going to be a very, very hard war to win. And also, this is the first time ever that we've seen the Protect Global. So Protect is the global where extra large and large champions, when they receive 300% of the attacker's attack rating in a single hit, they trigger a protection that can stack up to 4 times. And the attacker global is that if you're using a large or extra large attacker, knocking the opponent down removes all protection charges. So I was originally assigned to path 3, which was an empty path, but I was assigned this this domino on Power Snack with Warlock, and I do believe that Warlock is in fact the best counter to this node, and I will show why. But yeah, that's because I was assigned that fight, it meant I had to boost for section 1 with no other fights, and since that's a decently hard fight, I'm going to boost big. So I asked the guy who was on path 6, hey, I'm going to turn off dexterity, do you want me to take this mojo for you? And he said, yeah, I'd really appreciate not having to boost twice, or not having to boost for just one easy fight. So I was able to pick up another fight in this war, which is really nice. Unfortunately, I started working at the exact time that war started, so I didn't get a chance to check the war until about 10 minutes before I'm doing all these fights. But I was pretty happy with what I was assigned. I got a rank 3 Thing Boss with Protect Global. So I'm going to throw on an Invulnerability Boost. Massively wasted. Whenever I take the domino on this next node, I'm not going to throw on an Invulnerability Boost next time. But this fight is just Aggression Fury with Strike Back. And with Warlock, this is just an absolute joke of a fight. I have Dex off, so the only way I can get nullified is if he lands an L1. This is actually a common misconception. Mojo does not auto-nullify. He does not. So he can't just nullify my armor up unless he hits me. So as long as I don't take an L1 to the face, there's no way I get degen damage in this fight with Dex off. But yeah, we're just constantly power draining, and this fight is already over in about 35 seconds. So now we'll go into this next fight, and I want to show why I think Warlock is the #1 best counter in the game to this domino. This domino on this node is I kept clicking Tildo's name just to the right, but I kept trying to click the empty square. I think the 3 most common counters to this node are #1, Ghost, who's in fact excellent for this. I'm not saying Ghost isn't. So Ghost #1, and then I think Guillotine is #2, and Warlock is #3 used. I want to show why I think Warlock is the #1 best counter to this node with any global at all. So when you go into this fight, one thing you have to notice is that Warlock's armor up comes back every 10 seconds, and Power Snack nullifies every 8 seconds. So after the Power Snack ends, you have 2 seconds to hit the opponent, and then for the rest of the fight, your armor up will not get nullified. Because the one thing people do wrong in this fight with Warlock is they go into a cycle where your armor up is just always getting nullified, and that's why people consider Warlock to not be a better option, because he's constantly activating Power Snack. But what if you could adjust your strategy so that you never activate Power Snack? You only activate it the first time in the fight, and then you gotta activate it in the dex a second time. For the rest of the fight, never gonna happen again. You block special ones, which is not an issue because you're Warlock and you have a ton of health. I put on Tech Boost for this fight, and you see I play this fight absolutely flawlessly, and I just shred this domino so easily. Look at that, only 9% health lost on one of the tougher fights on the map. I am so happy with that. But yeah, that fight is going to go down. Unfortunately, that was only a 6-star rank 2, but I have taken 6-star rank 3 dominoes on that node, and it is just as easy. It's just one more special 2. So now we'll go into a fight I was not scheduled for, but this is Burden of Might, EMP modification, Havoc. We actually sent we put a vision on a guy's team specifically for this fight, but I saw how boosted I am. I asked Sky, the guy who was quaking Korg on Mixmaster, which you can do without the pre-fight if there's no stubborn. So he did quake that fight. He did it perfectly. He got clipped by the last hit of a heavy, but he still survived at 70%. So yeah, we're gonna go in here, and the thing is, Havoc just never gets power. So we're gonna be constantly parrying and reparrying for that little bit of power drain. Fortunately, they did accidentally trigger Dex there, so I'm going to get power drained. But it doesn't matter, because even with that, he never gets to a bar of power in this fight. And this is a rank 3 6-star Havoc, by the way, who is, in fact, a pretty damn good placement on this node. But watch this. This is with no suicides. Watch how fast this man melts. I throw an L2, it pushes me to 1.9 bars. I reparry, get to an L2. Look at that damage. Right to another L2, and I finish off that fight with 98%. Just absolutely, Warlock is steamrolling all of these fights. Just absolutely destroyed that Havoc. So now we'll go into the last bit of war. So I was the second last person to clear. But the last person to clear was waiting for the global to go down, because one of their fights was an extra large champion, and they were using a burst champion. I think they were using Magic, who can easily hit the cap. But yeah, we're on path 2, and we've got Tigra and Apocalypse on the power drain. What's it called? The hitter. I don't know what it's called. The counter nodes. The power drain counter. I don't know what it's called. If you didn't know this, I actually didn't know this going into this fight. My leader told me. But Tigra can't be unblockable if she has a weakness on us. So because I had to keep on Resonate for the boss, I actually thought that was absolutely perfect, that I'd be able to be running Resonate and completely avoid her unblockable in this fight. But it didn't end up mattering. I could have taken several L2s to the face and I still would have survived, because I'm at 97% health. But Parry Heavy just made that fight so easy. So now we'll go up to this next node, and this is going to be Apocalypse, 6-star rank 2. This is a pretty bad placement for Apocalypse, honestly. I think many champs can take him here. Actually, I think any champ in the game can take Apocalypse on this node. I do. The only thing is, with Protect Global, you probably don't want to be using Corvus unless you're going to hit some intercepts, because I think Corvus is a medium champion. If he's large, I could be wrong, in which case it would be very easy. But yeah, it's just such an easy fight. So he's going to become immune to bleed right here, and then I don't know if he becomes immune to shock. He might. No, okay, he doesn't. But that's the only L1 we're going to get to throw in this fight. So I just got to an L1, and then I waited out the power sting. But now we're not going to get any power for the rest of the fight, but I really don't see that as an issue. So right here, I evade the last hit, and when I get to the next L1, I'm going to try to fully evade it. I've actually never tried to fully evade Apocalypse's L1 ever, not even once, not while he was in the EQ, not once. So right here, I'm going to try it just for fun, and you guys are going to see I'm going to get absolutely messed up. But luckily, because we're Warlock, we're immune to crits on special attacks when we have our armor up. So it barely does any damage. I think it did like 11% of my health. And I really am not worried about that. And so for this last L1 right here, I don't think he ever gets to it, right? Yeah, the combination of Resonate and Infection with using Warlock if the opponent's running Willpower is just overpowered, because you're not only power draining when they're stunned, you're always power draining. So right here we're going to bait out another L1. We're going to go block, block, Dex like you always do against Apocalypse. But there we go. That fight goes down pretty easily. And now we're on to the boss. So if you guys did notice the title is Protect Global Bugged. And I am going to show you in this video all of the bugs. So I considered slowing down this video, and right here we just had a little bit of game lag. I considered slowing down this video and showing specific parts, and I also considered that for the boring parts I would speed it up. But I am just going to show this entire fight. So this is a 6-star rank 3. I've got big boosts on. Well, not like the biggest boost, but I don't have 30% attacker. I don't have 30% green boosts, so that's not an option. But we are going to go in with the SP1 boost, like you always should, against a Thing Boss. And 1 second, before we start the fight, I want to show my attack rating. So let's see if we can see our attack rating. So our attack rating right here is 2996. So let's just round that up to 3K. For the sake of argument. So, with the way that the global works, it says that if you do 300% of your attack rating in a single hit, then you will trigger protection, the extra protection. So right there, I tried to hit into his block. He did not go for it. So he is just going to make this fight a little difficult for me at the start. And let me tell you, this is not the cleanest fight. But yeah, so the way I should trigger protection in this fight should be if a crit does 9k or more damage. So just keep that in mind. And I also considered that maybe it's base attack rating, in which case a rank 3 5-star Void's base attack rating is 2100, in which case the cap would be 6300. But right there you'll see that a 2000 hit actually triggered the global protection, and you can notice the difference between global protection and Things protection because the global protection has no timer. It doesn't expire. But right there, that was a mistake to throw the L1, but it's fine because I hit a nice reparry to recover. In a minute and a half in the fight, I'm doing pretty well. My damage is getting resisted, and right here it is. No, okay. But yeah, you see we still have that protection up, limiting our damage by 10%. I try for intercepts in this fight, and Thing just does not go for it. Right here, he would not hit into me, so I had to do something. Decided not to throw my L1 right here, so I'm going to throw it right here just to push back. And yeah, at this point, I'm like, okay, I might be in a little bit of trouble. I'm 2 minutes in, but I've still got 40% down, which means I'm on pace. Here I'm going to do a quick shortened combo through the L1. And I'm healing back a decent amount. But there I trigger the second protection. So let's show what triggers the second protection. Right here, look at this hit. 314 damage. Because this is a max sig thing, 314 damage. What that means is the way that the game calculates what is 300% of attack is actually, the way it calculates it is what would the damage be to Thing before protection takes it into account. So if I had the one Fear of the Void like I did right there, and I crit like that, without protection, I would have done over 6k damage, which I'm completely fine with. But the thing is, this game, in that circumstance, shouldn't take that into account. What it should take into account is only the amount of damage dealt. So here I get a really nice intercept. I'm trying to push him back. He's not really working with me too well, but he's going to dash back here and give me a little bit of a chance. But yeah, you see we're really on pace to time out here, so I go for another dash back intercept. He doesn't go for it, so I'm stuck in the corner. I have to throw an L1 to save myself. I go for another intercept here. I do land it, and briefly I remove all the protections. So we're doing fine. We're dexing in the corner, I get hit one last time, and then I dex the rest of the L1. But right here, I have to hit him to push him back. But with 1:23 left and 27%, I'm going to trigger protection a few more times. So watch this. 1,000 damage triggers protection. All right. 1/6 of the cap is triggering protection right now, which is amazing. 200 damage triggers protection, which I just love. That makes so much sense. Thank you for that, Kabam, for your zero logic game functions, I guess. But we're still doing damage, I guess. We're not throwing enough L1, so we only have one Fear of the Void right now, but we got 3 debuffs up. Right here, we're going to go for another intercept. No, we're not. Okay, we're going to go for another intercept soon then. But with 15% health left, and then right here, 700 damage. Honestly, I'm surprised that a non-crit didn't trigger the cap, but okay. Here we go for another intercept. He doesn't go for it. We're going to go for another intercept. He doesn't go for it. We're going to go for another one right here. Doesn't go for it. I don't know what to do. I honestly felt like I should have won this fight in 3 minutes. And if the global node was not bugged, I would have won this fight in 3 minutes. But because of the fact that the game calculates the protect cap damage based off of the attack, the damage that would have been done before taking protection into account, and rather than what it should be doing is calculating it after, we're going to trigger protection all those times. I wouldn't have triggered protection a single time in that fight, and I would have won the fight. Easily won that fight. Very easily. So right here, we're going to go clean up with Warlock, and this thing is much better because we are using a extra large attacker, which means that we can remove protection by just knocking him down. But there we go. That fight goes down. I mean, obviously, it's very unfortunate to not get the solo, but as we've talked about in my last season, and I talked about the season before that, with the new way that we trigger, or the new way that we count deaths, if you have video proof, or if you video proof of a timeout and it was not due to a lack of skill, which even if I had not taken all those hits, I still would have timed out, probably with 3 or 4%, but I still would have timed out because of the bug. Or if you don't have a video, but it's incredibly plausible and your champion is still alive and you've not revived. So, for example, we had a guy time out last season on the second node in Path 5, Section 2. He was quaking a Rhino, and the Rhino ended with 5% health. He timed out. Then that like, we don't count it as a death to that person. What we do is we don't count it as a win either. So I won that fight twice. I'm not going to get, or sorry, I went into that fight twice. I killed it once and I timed out once. Neither of those fights are going to count towards my stats. So I'm going to get 1 timeout removed from my stats. So even though I took 6 fights in that war, I'm only going to count 5 of them. And my Deathless Streak, since I did not die with Void is still alive at about 10% or 15% right here. My Deathless Streak is still alive. So that makes us 3-3 on the season. Very unfortunate that we did lose this war. But SAS is a very, very good alliance. Finn had a nice war with 9 attacker kills. But yeah, as you're looking at our defense, PCD got 3 defender kills because they died to our Doom boss 3 times in one of the battle groups. But that was 60% of their deaths the entire war, which was just sucky. We did play half decent. It's the best we played in like 2 or 3 wars with only 10 deaths, but we've gone like 6 or less before. So we really need to start doing that again. My battle group, of course, lost 5 of the 10. So if my battle group had had a deathless war, we would have tied. But that's just very unfortunate, and that's going to be the end of this one. We are going to be 3-3 on the season with me still having 0 deaths. PSR, it would have been 43 out of 43 if I hadn't had that bug happen against Void, or against Thing using Void. But we're now 42 out of 42, still 100% on the season halfway through, and our Deathless Streak carrying over from last war is going to be 73 fights in a row now. But that is going to be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.